All right, hey everyone. We got some great questions today, and that is just so motivating to have this dialogue and have these questions, and essentially we're generating research topics. Like these are things that the collective, the tribe, that we can weigh in on over time. We won't necessarily get an immediate answer, but I will say, sorry, I'm out of breath. I was just chasing my dog in the yard, but she. Seeing some of those questions today, the one that Vanessa and I have gone back and forth on quite a bit is, I want to say, the $1,000,000 question: what do you eat? I will answer that $1,000,000 question with more questions. So I know that doesn't necessarily help, but what I'm hoping that it does is it gets you in the right direction to start refining that question. I think when you have a broad question, you're going to have broad answers, and that's okay. That's maybe better than nothing, but I think what people are looking for is more specific to their situation. So how do we help tease out some of those specifics so that people can start digging and find the solution that's theirs? Don't mind me while I mess with my notes here that are falling over. So if I'm looking over, then just that's where they are. So first off, I would say, like, we got to ask a few questions. What phase are you in right now? Are you in the, hey, I just found out I need to do something? Are you in, the how to starve cancer model? Are you of starve or kill or maintain? Those answers will help give you some ideas on the duration that you would expect to do this. I think most of us would agree that we'll cut out quite a bit early on with the hope that we could add some of it back in. So I say that of, okay, well, what phase are you in? And that gives you an idea of where to start. I know, at least in my house, and Vanessa and I have talked about this, is like, well, like, what part of this treatment are you in? Are you sprinting right now? Are you in the marathon? So with that, I would say, like, in general, you have to eat healthy. I know, very vague. Sorry. I will refine that personally. Again, this is not medical advice, so you can't sue me. This is what we've done, and this is what I think off of what I've read. So you have to eat healthy. You have to cut out the carbs. You have to cut out the refined sugars, the processed breads, all of the garbage, deli meats, just, ugh. Simple is good. You have to be able to pronounce it. And this is, I think, where it's such a huge shift for people is in some cases, maybe you need to learn how to cook. I personally believe that cooking your own food, growing your own food is the best option. So if we can start with, like, what is the best, and that is cooking and growing your own food. Now let's go into the pragmatics of that. It's not realistic for everyone to do that. Not necessarily going to grow all of your food the whole year. I acknowledge that. So I would start, as far as cleaning up, where do you start? And I would start with your fruit and veggies first, because that's easy. I would go to the Environmental Working Group, EWG, go to their website. They have a list of the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. So if you're gonna make selections, your strawberries better be organic. You better clean them. Clean 15 has avocados. Okay, typically things that have some type of skin that would be peeled off. A cucumber. Okay, you can skim on cucumbers in some cases. Again, I could go into detail on that, but I won't. Another variable that we've seen a couple times already is are you hormone positive? And this is where it starts to get expensive, in my opinion, or you at least need to start getting your infrastructure in place. So in the case of my mom, she's hormone positive. So in accordance with the metabolic approach, to Cancer. That's by Dr. Nasha Winters. She talked about meat and dairy and the cows and the animals and how pumped full of hormones they are, and how there's, according to her, a correlation with animals being pumped full of growth hormones and tumors growing. I subscribe to the "you are what you eat" model, and so this resonated with me. So we went to our local butcher. I've got a giant, I want to say giant ass freezer in my garage, and we stocked it full of local meat from our local meat guy. So I can drive 5 minutes down the road. Again, I'm lucky that 5 minutes down the road is my meat guy, but yeah, no hormones. They do get vaccinated, I think. So I am looking for someone who's even cleaner than my current meat guy. But the hormones are the big thing. I want to see that the cows are eating grass. So grass-fed organic meat, grass-fed organic dairy, if you're going to do that. That is something that we cheat on in our house. Like, we acknowledge that ideal is grass-fed organic dairy or no dairy. But frankly, we got to eat something, and that's just where we are right now. If we find a better solution, then we might switch. But so far that's sufficient, and it's within our budget, which we readjusted our budget for all of the more expensive food that we're buying. So there's that. You'll hear keto diet a lot. So I'm going to go through probably the 3 diets that you'll hear the most, and that's keto, carnivore, and vegan. We are personally at my house doing, I would say, a keto based. We don't strive for ketosis, but we do check our glucose. We do solidly meats and veggies. My mom will not eat fruit right now, so she's marked that off her list until she's well into maintenance. Another option is a carnivore diet. My uncle is actually doing that right now. So I'd say, well, for diet, it depends. Where are you in your journey? If inflammation is a problem, and it probably is for a good majority of us, then you probably want to look at cutting out, again, cut out the carbs. And however you get there is probably better than where you were. And you can always change it when you're in a position to continue to improve. But my uncle has lost 50 pounds on the carnivore diet. He, of course, had all the health issues associated with being overweight. And it's something that he enjoys doing. If you were to tell my uncle to switch to vegan, get out of town. He's not going to do it. I would guess that some of that just happens to be with familiarity, and he doesn't know how to cook tofu, and so that component is present. But as far as like what does he know and love, and what resonates with him, you could not tell my uncle to do vegan and expect him to do it. But he is enjoying carnivore, and he's losing weight. His inflammation numbers are down. His blood pressure is down. Like he has some very real metrics that, at least for where he is right now, I would say that is improvement from where you are. So everyone's on their own journey. This isn't something that we should be shaming ourselves for. This isn't something that we need to feel bad about. Someone else is having ice cream and you're not. Like, this is 100%. Every person has to define what is right for them. So with that, again, in my house, we personally believe that sugar and anything that converts to sugar in the body, that's carbs. Lactose in milk converts to glucose in the body. So that's fine. It says 0 sugar on that milk. No, it converts to glucose in the body. So no milk. We limit dairy. No carbs. There are carbs in what you eat. So it's not like it's no carbs. She eats vegetables. She eats cucumbers. She eats celery. She eats carrots sometimes, but peas have a high glycemic index. She did have some beans. Those are higher glycemic index. So like, it's not no carbs, but we're just not eating shit carbs. And certainly no sugars and none of that. Okay. So with that, okay, how do you research your tumor? This is get to know you and get to know your tumor. This is the ways that you can do that is the tumor biopsy. Your original biopsy should have information. Is it ER/PR positive? Again, hormone driven, yes or no. Many are. And the P53 pathway is a a a mutation that is widely associated with cancer. I think the number was like 95% of tumors have a mutated P95 signaling pathway. And I think that has to do with like cell death. So I think that's associated like those. When you have that, those cells live forever, and that's how tumors just grow unchecked. Is they're able to avoid normal cell death, known as I think it's apoptosis is how I say it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hey, put it in the comments. Okay, so and then once your tumor is removed via surgery, there's something called Caris testing, CARIS. My mom was about to go through this, so I'll of course post what we get on that. Caris testing goes deep dive into your tumor genetics, and that should be a good start to start diving into like how is your tumor feeding itself, and then that should very much inform how you fight this and win. Other things that you can do: monitor your progress. My mom paid out of pocket for CA-125 and HE4, and she got an estrogen panel done. She got a hormone panel done. So like, okay, she's hormone positive. What are her hormones? Those are pretty expensive. All of that together was about $500 at an independent lab. We did switch to just the CA-125 and the HE4. HE4 is very expensive. That was $130, I think. CA-125 was relatively cheap. I want to say it was like 30 or 40 bucks. So comparatively, for paying out of pocket, we are in the process of getting her naturopath to put those labs in so that it can be billed to insurance. We just, at the time, we didn't have that set up, so we paid out of pocket. But what we found was HE4 and CA-125 matched each other, so they came down at the same time and in generally similar rates. So if you're someone who CA-125 is a telltale sign for you, then great. If it's not, I would check HE4 and just see what it is. And then tell us what you found, because it is expensive, and we found that in the case of my mom, when we were testing it, we found it to be the same, or on par with, again, the numbers and the metrics are slightly different. Other tests, and we'll need to do a supplement on this of like, okay, what other tests can you ask your oncologist to do? And I say this in frustration of when my mom asked for a hormone panel through the oncologist. Oh, we don't do that. Like, what? Excuse me? Like, I mean, we're on TRICARE. Like, bill TRICARE, right? Like, what do you, oh, well, that's not for ovarian cancer. Okay. This will be the first of my vocal disappointment with my mom's oncology team. They try. I swear to God, they try. I think they try, but like, God, they just suck. A1C is another one. That's like a glucose tester that you can check, again, depending on what you're trying to do. Another thing you can do is a glucose monitor. I bought a Keto Mojo. It's a glucose and ketones tester that you can get on Amazon. So we've tested myself and my mom on that just to see, like, when we're eating, are we getting a huge spike in glucose? How are we doing after she's fasting? Is she achieving ketosis? So that is something that we've done. I can do a video on how to do it. It's once like anything, once you get used to it, it's not so bad. And that was the same for us. I will say that there is peace and empowerment in changing things that you have control of. There's so much of this process that is just, hey, sit here and we're going to do chemo to you, and then we're going to pump you full of steroids, and then we're going to cut you up, and we're going to, like, I'm just like, good Lord, like, really? Like, that's, like, how do people sleep at night? Like, I'm not okay with that. Like, no, I want the patient in the driver's seat. I want the patient to know what their options are, and I want the patient to have a menu of options. And you, as the care team, do what my mom freaking wants you to do. That's my opinion. Again, sorry, I'm getting heated. But I will say that my mom has found peace in controlling what she eats. And so much of this is out of her control. She's like, no, I'm not eating those blueberries. No, I'm not eating that. I'm not eating that. I'm not eating that. Not to say she's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Like, we have cheat days, but that is one area that I think has helped. Okay, last but not least, I'm sorry this is getting long, but I'll end with where I think you should start. So this is the last thing you hear. So, and essentially it's going to come down to like, this is you getting to know yourself. What is your vision for this? What is your vision for the future? And is this a way that you think will help you get there? For my mom, the answer is yes. She wants to go in remission, and this is a way that will help her get there. So that has helped her stick to it, because it is tough. She loves her carbs, and I do too. Again, not a hit on her, but just like that's where we were at diagnosis, and how much had to change. How does food, here's another question, reflective, right? How does food fit into that for you? I have family that see food as like, well, that's their quality of life. If they can't have their ice cream and their soda, well, no. And I love them very much, and not a judgment. That is how they define quality of life, and food is a huge part of that. Can you separate ego and self-medicating? Alcohol and carbs is what a lot of people do. Can you separate ego and self-medicating with food from what your body needs to be its best self? Your body is screaming. Are you listening? Can you give it what it needs? I will say that changing food is lonely. Going out to dinner isn't the same anymore. Going to Thanksgiving isn't the same anymore. Grandma's cherry pie that she would always make isn't the same anymore. That is hard. And I would encourage this dialogue with family of like, this is what I need. This is what I need. Traditions need to change. In my family, we grew up with, after a recital, you go to Dairy Queen and get an ice cream. Like, do we need to reward ourselves with sugar? How much of our culture is rewarding with sugar? My kids came home from camp and they got Jolly Ranchers. They don't need Jolly Ranchers from camp. Like, are you kidding me? They go to the doctor. Oh, here's a lollipop. Are you kidding me? Like, so how much of that is baked into our culture? You go to grocery and you're checking out at the grocery store and there's all this sugar right in your face. How much of that do you now have a different appreciation for the negativity that it brings to your life? But I will offer encouragement. You're eliminating things that don't serve you. And by doing so, you're now creating space for things that can serve your highest self. Who is this person that's going to arise from the ashes? Who is that person? Who do you want them to be? It's okay if you don't know right now. I love the Phoenix analogy. Who you're going to rise from the ashes. What is that person going to be like? And I think it's okay to start thinking about that. And that vision, that purpose can help you with those day-to-day hardships, to help you stay on the track that you want to be on. So with that, I'll sign off. It's 18 minutes. I do love food. I do think I'm a pretty good cook, actually. So I've personally messed around with paleo and keto and stuff. So like that switch was not huge for me. I've already done it. I know I cooked meals in my house, like, okay, and now my dad is learning how to cook keto meals, and like this is how you live without bread and potatoes and carbs and pasta and rice and nochi and all the things that we can come up with, spätzle, all the things that we can come up with to put bread in our lives. That was a big deal. So with that, thank you again for asking the question. I would love to hear either video or however you want it. Like, what do you do? What do you do? Why do you do it? Where did you get that information from? If you can post links to articles that you've read that can then help the tribe, then again, please help. Okay, bye now.